electric night, we are lost in the rhythm, 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 rhythm. Till this cannot be lights. 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 In these connected lines, oh, I can feel you pulling me up. In this electric night, we are lost in the rhythm, rhythm, rhythm,
Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. Okay, so first order of business. The last arc finally ended, but it had 3 start points in it. Which, in the previous case, meant we had the same seed reused for different maps, different arcs. Ooh, that file move lag though. And then most of it from there is at the end. So it says probably a server restart. I can confirm that. There were some code updates in the middle without doing a map reset. Are we actually up to date? Still has all this stuff. I'm mostly interested in server at this point. So what writes out map log? And that might be case sensitive. Map log. Map change log file. Delete biome seed string. New file name. Oh, or actually, what I really want is start time. Okay, there's the test program. Print lifelog player data. Probably map? Okay, that's old code. Generating map spots. Load into map from file. So it's a different kind of time lim sec. Right to start time. That's okay. Map change log time start. Wait, there's a log file. Oh, that's the time value. Set up map change log file. Map change logs. Make directory. If there was a file, close it. Log folder is a directory. Get child files. We're trusting there's not going to be a time number collision, looks like. Because I don't think it's putting seed on there. Equals F open. File does not exist. With time, get current time. So it can reuse the file as long as it's the same seed. Reseed map. Report arc end. There should be something in here. Did we re-init the whole map? I mean, you're clearing the map, so it might make sense to do that. Biome rand seed gets reset. Reseed map. Init map. Reseed map false? Reseed map, init map. Okay. So that's going to do the seed change. Alright, so next question. App changelog. Publishing the most recent file. Special map placements, it's a different kind of placement. Oops, wiping map should clear seed. That's remote server wipe. Well, that may have been that condition. So this is our approximate timestamp. Where that condition was discovered. And because we have the data, we believe that that is the only time. I mean, I can even hard code that file where we should split based on that. So unfortunately, our test case here is a very, very large file. So this is the small file. This was the split file? Yes. And then this Five eight eight 41 5882. Is it safe to do this here? How many trees think it's safe? It's mapped, that's a little dodgy. I think. We need to add some exclusion directories. Seems going to need to add some exclusion directories. No, maybe it's actually the output that's a problem. What were you? Your text files. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did read that as key placement. And then maplog was my earlier experiment with this, which we have to get back to. Okay, we got some of our tile stuff. We got cache. Can probably ban output. Maplog? Right page here. Oh, come on. On cache. Log file. Approx log time. So that would be the time when it was first written. Or I guess you could look at the start time itself. When we get a log entry, what do you call this? (2019-07-31). In what time zone? I'm assuming that's going to be doing my local time zone. Not data server. Map. Data. Well, that's clear as mud. It's only a date, but there is a time in there. Should probably be a date time. 12:56 in UTC. What format do you want that in? Okay. Alright, if it's an arc start. It's last offset. Oh, this version doesn't care about timestamps. That will be a concern as we move into the logs. Okay, that's what we need to start, so we need to rotate that. Unisize objects, unisize floors. Unisize last offset. If log dot second start is less than split arcs before. Oh wait, you're seconds. So I need this to be just a straight up second count. Unexpected end of... I thought I could leave that, because I wasn't going to execute there. Apparently not. Define method 2i. Surely I must somewhere in this do some other conversions to timestamps. Well, I'm mostly reading timestamps. slightly older version. There's 2 string. There's 2 time. Date time doesn't do a whole lot. Turns the string in ask time 3. To a string. Day of the week, fractional part of day. Jillian day number. Lillian day number. How about time? Wow, time don't have a heck of a whole lot. Okay, so this must be core. Parses. A date to a Unix timestamp. No, 2 time 2i. So does, first of all, that time get us what we want? The method pars for timestamp. Now, I probably do just want this as the number. Okay, date time, a number. Okay, I only do the reset if it's that one case. Alright, so I've got a copy of all the placements in my actual map output directory. Oh, apparently I didn't save. That start time is going to be more significant. When we start doing time-based logs, or difference logs for animation. Okay, we output one file. I could see about loading this up. But we also need to check that we get two files from here. That looks like it. Now, I haven't set this up to be conservative yet, which is actually a thing I'm probably going to want to do as we start adding incremental arcs. We also have to fix this in the data server. Although I've been wondering if I shouldn't be doing some sort of arc index file, just a static file. Since that's going to control what we have available, but at least having it automate the seed updates will be nice for the time being. I'm probably going to have to do a fairly messy synchronization here. So another thing I may have to loop back to is that we ended up with very, very large, just the final placements ended up with fairly large data here. All right, so the rest of these shouldn't actually be much of an issue. It's really, and this should be a superset of that. However, this is still using. Well, it's using it for time range. It will still fetch that data set for the most recent version of things. Where am I pointing? No. Well, I mean, the tiles are definitely be local. Maybe I shouldn't have deleted those. Uh, so we would expect, for instance, in leaflet terminology. Let me start looking at this. All right, at Zoom 24, well, we can't see that stuff, but it's going to be roads to both sides. There are some in the final data set. Negative 1, 1. That's still 25. That's still that corner. Oop. So y negative 1. It's more organized for negative x. There's some. Not a whole heck of a lot. Okay, and that's our old one. So 286. Wait, what? Why is that so different? Like, I got the right timestamp. $26. All right, so if you're so tiny, what? -1, -1. I mean, right now it is, in fact, going to be that size. Response headers. Date last modified. How is this so much smaller? Oh, wait, there's more than 177. Okay, 264. 286. Okay, that seems like it is actually just a little bit bigger, which is what we expect. So then why aren't you... Oh, I guess that would be map coordinate 0, not map coordinate -1. So we got... that's the x equals 0 road. Y equals 0 is harder to pick out, but then that was pretty well developed. I guess the negative y version of it wasn't. Oh, but that's going to be a different tile. That is going to be... Well, okay, there's still some there. Especially at this zoom. Oh, wait, -1, -1. That would have had the road... Well, that had this road, didn't have that road. All right, so you are map. Well, there's definitely some more zeros here. So how is it... Also some stuff at the far edge. All right, so what is the browser saying about this? Probably should have kept those. I really only need these, but I also need to figure out what's going on here. Alright, so when you fetch these tiles, how is that cached? It was not last modified Sunday. Oh, maybe it is the server thinks it hasn't changed. It's like, oh yeah, it's just a static file. Obviously it hasn't changed. Although I was able to replace things earlier. Seems like I had to do this the other day. Which disturbs me. Yeah. Something super aggressive about its caching. Which, I mean, maybe Elm Reactor keeps some state somewhere. Last modified. I just got to do disable cache here, but that disables everything. So I'm not completely sure if it's the browser cache or the web server doing something. Anyway, so that project, and if I close that, by itself, well, let's come back to the animations piece of it. Mm. So now we also need to do that. When we import arcs here, Wrong file. Import arcs. Left log file, load log. Oh, I actually put that in the other project. Okay. Alright, so that means we probably want to do something like there. It's an arc start. What do you have? You have you get a start and a length. So I think I got the same end time. There's always going to be current start plus that. But if we want to record an arc as a start time to an end time, we actually need to have like first start and last start. The only thing we need start for is, in fact, that start time. But length, well, I was doing the addition here. That ceases to be a reasonable way to handle that. Did I actually use? Yeah. But just for that end time, specifically to make sure I was calculating the end time the same way between the two areas. So for end time calculation, that's fine. We need the current start to have the correct end time. We need the first start to have the correct start time. And keeping it as length actually makes things kind of awkward. And we probably need because if we are splitting, then passing the length is convenient. If we're not splitting, then it becomes inconvenient. If it's a start and we have a start, that's the thing we have to not do. Offsets are always from the current start. So do we track start time or the start log? The offset is always going to be relative to the last start log. Oh. No, we still have a log. Oh, and that's exactly what we needed from this start record. But this is not the length. If we're doing that, it's the length. To continue with this style would be start.s start plus and then we would need to subtract that to get the delta. We're really recording as an end. Alternate is that we just have to do an addition. So that's that S start. And that also has to happen. We used... Okay, so Arc is fully imported. Include OHO family trees, but it's still going to be arc dot. Oh no, it's going to be arc colon. And how about we change the parameters? In this case, I never replaced... No, I did replace start. Oh, that gets the end right, but this isn't using the start time. I was really just using it to duplicate the logic, but there's no longer really any logic here. So then we don't need arc. Except for that start time. And the current start plus the offset is going to be the end time. And now I just have to run that. You see, we make mistakes. Initialize constant. Oh boy. That must just be date. All right, so the end is the current start plus the current offset. From the first start, and we only write this out. I guess it's a faster check. Okay, so when you go through to do this, so if it's an exact match, which actually might not be the greatest thing here. I just want to know what you convert out. I think my only data server is running the server. No, there we go. Squeeze me? Did I forget to save? Okay, I do have a reset. Okay, before cache, load cache. plog server, load server. Load server. Oh, because I've already downloaded the file, so I kind of... Well, for this purpose, we can do that. That's one of the things we have to reset. We got 2 from there. And 1 from the final. I think I did that before. Okay, so that's right back where it was. What did task rake db arcs delete? It's not gonna quite do it. What do we do in monuments? I guess monuments weren't able to cache as nicely. Do I have a lives reset? No. Alright, so the thing we have to do is clear out the relevant log files. Is it shift? It's shift. Now he's going to be kind of messy. This is even still using... so would that be lifelog file? Lifelog files. Yeah, so there's a bunch of those. So my cache, it probably looks like below here, which is just anything that includes maplog. Path. Oh, this needs to be like. Live search. So I think I've been doing that kind of search. Is this thing? Boolean expression like args. Path, and now we gotta be a little bit more careful. I probably could just say text to do that. 6 is a bit more reasonable. Okay, so our reset. So this was a direct database operation. This should be something in the import. That's a little bit more work than we actually need to do, but for a general operation we can run in other times. Oh, that's going to do the live fetch. Probably useful to test. So I presume that's the big one. All right, and I need more water, so I'm gonna, well, after 7, it was 9. out of 6 files. Okay, so that makes sense. I just do actually need water, though. So if we go to here, 802 to 811, that makes sense. Okay, that is a different seed. And these weren't very built up in this area. Now these are the two that had the same... Was it the first one that had the same seed? That was the second one. Why? Okay, so that's a problem. Those have the same start time. But I do need water, so I'll be back in a few minutes. Well, okay. No. Did you just drop? Did you just take that kid away somewhere?
I'm down. Ooh. Reloaded. Oh no.
Reloading. Downed a hostile on Scotty. Reloading.
In case you need a hand.
Can't believe I'm standing still. You're lucky I like you.
Can we get some more damage going here, please? Artillery beam? You're so awesome. Let's do that. Boom, boom, boom. His weapons are basically down at this point. We're really... I feel like I would have liked... There we go. That's a good amount of damage. Yeah, man, artillery beam's on point. 2 missiles, 1 drone, 35 scrap, won't accept surrender. Third time that artillery beam is a total bro and takes out their cloaking. Boom! 1 fuel, 1 drone, 45 scrap. Nice.
Where'd you go? Baby! It doesn't get far without a tit. Right? Don't know if it was hungry or scared. Ooh. Somehow I found I was able to wrap my hair up real quick. I already died by snake, but okay, let's go before another kid pops out. I don't want to disappoint them. So are we all right? Oh my god. Oh. Oh god. Thank you, Pie Maker. Oh, India West. If I come across your grave, I will bury you, sir.
Really?
Alright, well, welcome back. Let's have a look. This is 5,000. 84. Those are different. They're not different enough. Also, apparently, if you click off from a table, it allows you to. Oh, no, it's the record number. IDs did change. So, what's going on here? got different end times. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're missing stuff. Digo Div, thank you for the follow. What the heck's going on here? And that's supposed to be an end time, and end time is what we go trigger off of. I guess. Let's see. So these are JavaScript interpretations of these times. I still have a console here, right? Is it time.at? No. No, I'm thinking. Okay, the at is the Ruby. It is new time. Okay, must be date here. Okay, July 29th. $22.38. Okay. Then we come along to you. Oh, wait. No, this is actually saying it's... the first two. Yeah, so that's earlier. So how are these messed up here? Is that what we're seeing on the load? Okay, 084, 29. Update arcs, okay. I had something for this. 1724 to 2238, 2238 to 2047. To 31607. So this is correct. We don't even have the first one. What the heck is going on with my control here? Now, that is JavaScript side, but that should be getting it from the Elm side. Well, thank you, Mother Cord. Chords, maybe? I don't know if that's supposed to be a Elite Speak thing. So arc select. Min equals 1. List length minus 1. This is a straight up ordinary slider. What am I doing with the value of this? Okay, list is if we have data for our arcs. We have a maybe. Does have a default 0. Okay, so that's just the control. Label equals model.currentArc. Because if it was nothing, date model.zone arc start arc end. Can I actually get useful information out of this? Probably have to draw it. Oh, are you, the compiler, happy with me? Success, compiled 2 modules. Now wait a minute. You had to render at least one here. Okay. End equals start equals. Okay, that's that one. '84. Okay, those two look the same. Is that because it re-rendered? Well, that did a bunch of re-rendering. What? Six, 4. Oh, I wonder, is it trying to do time zone adjustments on me somewhere? It shouldn't be changing the timestamp, but time is weird. Okay, there's an end at 6:20. Seven, 9, 2. Wait, 929, 929. Okay, so I'm not seeing the first one at all. And those got the same. So the start time is still an issue. But this isn't showing me my first arc. Maybe it's min 1 and it's returning a 0. What is our indexing? Wait. Yeah, that has to be it. Because if it's 0 based, it would do that. How did I not see that before? That goes to start, goes to start. We've got our start problem with those. Wait, that didn't change anything? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe I reloaded too soon. Okay, that's actually a different map. 2238, and then I have to fix the problem with those two. Which is a different problem. Do I have anything up? Too many windows. And I need more windows. Key place old is probably fine. What did I change in the other one? I'll overlay checkers, a temporary thing. Oh, what's the debug login? So we check the diffs. Yeah, not everything this time. All right, so my output process seemed like it was okay. My input process is messed up. So we need to skip that. We need to... I don't really care about that. We need to pay attention to our start times. Or actually, that's the double file. I might be able to do a specialized on that. Start, yeah, 2238. So that's actually in here. So we are recording S start. Oh, if it splits. So we have to do this and then say S start is always equal to log start if we reset. Okay, those are actually different. 729 to 730, 730 to 731. So there are no hacks to you. So I'm going to try and get a corrected document. Corrected database. And I do sometimes wonder if that would be better off as the documents as the rest of the ARC stuff is semi-static. Although this does let me, this is a much more easy thing to do as an automated task. I eventually need to get to the point where I'm outputting the ARC data on automated task as well, but baby steps. Because that will have to deal with the S3 upload process. Okay, 7 arcs. Yeah, 29, 620, 695. All right, so that was FXT. Well, you're gonna have that. Let's make sure the other one's updated first. Let's see, merge timestamps. Don't merge. Don't split. All right, and you, I think, need to do something, so that should be a no op. Let's look at all the files. Because you do want gem file lock pointing at the right thing. And then you were depending on that code. So that live database need to be updated. The other database that will be, you'll have to synchronize the updated files, and then it'll just be a matter of the CDN flushing through. Okay. Okay, map final image. I don't remember how this differed. Oh, this was one. This did output as one value per space, although it was still text-based. And I did not find that to be efficient. Well, for the sparser files. Map log tiled. Now the problem is I've made lots and lots of changes. So I don't even know if it's going to be recognizable. And we do have a function for right tiles. But the things need to be recorded differently for that. And these have just drifted so much. I'm almost not sure it's worth using the old code. Yeah, so you keep your data in a different format. And this didn't handle splitting at all. Our main issue is maplog tiled. So this was just splitting locations. Now, for the final image stuff, I had this deal with the log replacement, or the floor replacements before. But I'm essentially going to have to recreate that buffer logic. And this also does not deal with splits if I want to do it on this end. So this is just keeping the log, and then now we're using the parsed logs. Then our map output is different. Oh, and the overage for doing tall objects. Alright, so I ended up dropping most of the zoom stuff. Output to a different directory. Oh. So this just had a single. For a time-based log, you actually do kind of want it in order. So if I want you to pre-process floors, maybe I kind of do both. That is support for possible splitting. Need to reset map. As well. Yeah, so this is all the removal checks. Put it into the floor. And what did we do? We deleted it from that, which okay, the other thing we're doing there is having it delete the floor. There's always, if you remove a floor, the tile is going to contain something, so the extra 0 doesn't matter much. However, I might need to do something extra for the time logs. I know, I'm not done yet. Alright, so... Oop. You just straight up log. Oh, and... in our overage section, and this... Yeah, the floors weren't relative to overage. So this is... Now, were the other stuff the same format? Yeah, tile X, tile Y. Okay, and then our file output... goes somewhere up here. So you got objects and floors, which should just be mapped now, probably. And I was just unioning them anyway. Oh, union of their coordinates in order to output the floors first. So this has better tile. So maybe this is just map. And that was that key value. This had tile. Well, actually, so no X tile Y. Oh, filed and open do. And then tile for each log line in the tile. Millisecond, log line, log line. And we start with the small file for testing. Here's our output. Oops, that was even misspelled. All right, family trees. This was maplog tiled. We need to see if this is output map tile. Not right tiles. Right, because I probably had my old things here. Now, actually, do I need both objects and tiles? Or in floors? I need floors. To detect if the floor was the thing removed. But I don't know if I actually need objects. Never have... And there's a map. And then we have to record floors everywhere so that we know if there was the appropriate thing down there. And then the other end is going to have to track. But I have to go back some point here and say if it's a floor or a floor removal, we actually have to want to go back and previous, which we just stuck the log in there. So if we go previous.object equals f0, that should update that log. Now, this is a small thing. I don't know there's actually going to be any floor removals in this. Okay, so we're already at 331 kilobytes. This will be more interesting. Or no, F0. Not even any Fs. On the larger ones, size-wise, I may also want to think about. Okay, so now we've got something difficult. I might want to abstract this a little bit. I might just need to look at a bunch of data. Those file rights, though. Oop. Object equals. Oh, that's probably true. And the only constructor for this right now is from a raw string. So either have a method to convert it to a floor, or we just make this overwritable. Also, that timestamp doesn't look right. What? How? Oh. I didn't see you. Where did you come from? Okay, then. You come from our split file? Yes. What were you recording? You were recording the last start. So if we do an intermediary Start.start. You should have a last offset, but that sure looks suspiciously like. What's our split file? 640. Like the offset part only. Wait, map final placements. Did I not? I thought I went back and updated this. Right. And that was, geez, this was only using the arc for its end. So this only needs it because I put the start time up there. Okay, no, I think I had only copied. I must have gone back and changed something else. All right, and then we copied this code into matlog tiled. Does take a while to process that last one, but I wanted to be sure it actually works now. Now it's only 2 of these. All right. Key place. We want to go look back and look at this. Oh. Objects. Oh. Another reference for that. Yeah, just took a drink. So we've got a couple of, we've done a couple of these. So yeah, 900 kilobytes. I think this was the small one. Oh, 4 megabytes. Yeah, I'm going to do something with this. It could be zoom levels. It could be having more time steps in there. Those are the active spot there. That was a little one. That was a big-ish one. 5 megabytes, 6 megabytes. And then the big boy. 21 megabytes. And that's negative 2. People are really hanging out down there. Yeah. Oh, and it's probably still writing it. So I can make the tiles a little bit smaller. Or a couple of zoom levels. Although, if it's the full log, well, every level will cut the log size by about a quarter. So this comes back to the question of data organization. Do we do keyframes plus logs? Do we just do divided time? If we try to jump to a point in the middle of one of these, just these straight up logs, yeah, okay, so that hasn't changed. Can be quite large. How does the tutorials look? Right, because the tutorials for the other versions are a lot of placements. But they mostly only get placed once. So it's this kind of the same for final image and for individual placement logs. So it seemed like you didn't, well, the benefit you got for final image for doing levels of detail was rather small for the amount of complexity added. The benefit on a time placement level may be better because you're going to be like shuffling small objects more than you are going to be shuffling large objects. You know, floors and walls don't tend to change very much. But that means I have to bring back that code and then extend it to this version of things, which is awkward. So I might have to refactor this a bit to make that extra complexity tolerable. All right, so that was undoing it. Okay, this is actually not going to be clean because for removed floors, we did have to bring back in some of this stuff. Okay, so this, well, there may have also been some problematic code on the front end side. Do I have anything for that? Fade tall objects. Rift removed. Well, we know what this was. This was 810. Okay, so what I did instead was filter drawing of small objects. So the complexity moved out here. Oh, key placement zoom levels. So I think this get left in. There's checker layer. Did we remove any code for that? Actually, it may have carried over into this. Because we've got data zoom. Did we use data zoom, though? No, we changed the definition of it. Okay, so the front end still has the code for that. And this is partly back here. Okay, we kept that. So we had cell size. This already has some floor stuff going on. Oh, and I fixed up my overages in the process of doing it. Okay. So what is this changing? This is changing object placement. Floors are always considered large enough. Oh, the way I did object was, well, because that's what I was writing into it. I actually need to go back and change the previous item in the other case. Can I turn this into a more generic structure? So for each log file, we've got a bunch of stuff too. We've got the data we need to write. We've got if previous and previous not equal to 0. And previous at that location. Oh, so I might need the object map back again. Just for that. So I guess what I need to look at is, given this code, and Beyond Compare does not like the color scheme, if I recall. Windows still doesn't quite have the colors all together. One life. This is going to be under you. Oh, did I do a checkpoint on this? Oh, okay, so it finally caught up. I did not. Okay, so that was the fix up there. Update log tile splitter. Oh, so adjust levels of detail on the placement logs. Might be useful. But if you zoom in, you're going to need the entire log to be able to reconstruct the current state of things. I mean, I guess in pre-processing, I could try to translate it into a start and an end time. That would make it easier to catch up. Okay, so we write different stuff out. Got the map instead of objects. What we measure. What we write. Got the update. What we write. Okay. So they differ in the state we keep and how we write it. So potentially, could pull all that out. If we do levels of detail, right. is I'm going to have to track if a small object replaced a large object in the. Which I think that was a piece of code that I kind of pulled out. So that may still need that. So we need to bust this into tiles. Do we have like sort of like an output thing that gets, well, it's gonna have to care about the type of things. Because this writes to floor or to object. I could build up all the data regardless. Well, if I did the final output image thing, then my data format might be different. There's some commonality there, but that's relatively contained. We've got objects and we've got all of the logs. Those are kind of state things. And if we do no, this is the map. This is a big thing on the object that skips writing it. Which would actually have to preclude writing the log output as well. So we could have one log processor that builds up the objects, the floors, and all of the individual logs. And then you decide what you want to write. Well, builds up the final state. Now, if we getting into like keyframe type things, I guess you sort of just want to put a time limit on it. If you're processing forward, it's always going to be a certain state. And it would have to be able to, I guess in that case, you would actually like create some sort of object that represents the fully processed state. Because if you need to split an arc, you can't just say, well, it converts all of its stuff to internal state. Or you have a process class that just calls a overridden method to overwrite with its current state there. Now I did have the arc. It has a load log process, although this is like a super simple, we just need start and end. Which we could probably arrange to keep track as part of this. That would say that the arc should have a placements, floors, and objects status. We still have a little bit of outer iteration. It would, no, what would we need to put in here? So the rights should be outside somewhere. That would just give you all the data you need. If this thing is processing to split, it needs to have the zoom and all of that stuff. So I'll have to pass down some information. Zoom gets used there and passed out to the right, which could be considered outside information. Tile width gets used down in the guts. And cell size might only be used for min size. So that might be describable as min size tile width. So that, I'm debating if I should, by default, load everything into one giant buffer and then have a separate thing that goes through and splits tiles. That would be awkward because of how I'm recording some of the data. It's like one of the main things it does. Floor removals could be pre-processed, and I don't have to worry about that during splitting. Min size. You would not want to filter the logs by min size because or you'd have to turn everything into everything that wasn't at size into a 0 and then worry about compressing it. I could. I guess I was partly trying to avoid all the memory overhead of having everything there. This requires you to know more about the format you want things in. So we've got a whole bunch of logic for tiling. We've got logic about what and how we record it. So record. Floor removal isn't too big of a concern, or rather in the overage condition. How do we make this not a giant copy pasta? So I'm going to reread the log once for each zoom level. Busted into tiles, and in one particular case, we need to separate it on start time. Then we have some sort of object that builds up the... Well, to be tiled logs, floors, and objects to account for both use cases. We have to iterate through, we have to deal with splits, state resets. This ends up being simpler because we're not dealing with floor removal on the remote ones. It could maybe fail at the edge if it was a bear rug hanging over. That's where it would be nice to pre-process that. But that's kind of tricky to do. Then we have to check for tile over. Or tile edges because of large objects. No, I think I was just thinking, I was wondering if tracks were floors because the track kits have multiple uses. Because that would actually break the object lookup. I don't think anything else you can do with the floor has multiple uses. So I think to make this reusable, you have to build up everything. And then individual processes will only write out what they use. Which is unfortunate, but this is getting gnarly enough that I don't want to maintain different copies for it. Or I have one process that writes out both logs. Because it really is just two different writes. Well, I'd have to mess with the output DIRs for the two of them. And the other problem is that I'm not necessarily doing levels of detail or even or to go with that culling for the final images, although I've been wondering if I should. So there, yeah, so I don't want to do that because of those being the same settings. So we iterate through, we build up all state, and then we separate out the thing that writes it. And I don't know if it's going to be good, but So I had a thing called history before. Well, okay, so this is a single arc. We got the load log thing that returns arcs. Before I had history, or I had lives, I had the history of lives as separate things, as collection. And it's a shame because I really only got the one case that splits on us. Oh, but I do need a thing that has all of that state. So that has to be some sort of like tile loader or tiled placement log. And I probably need to rename this package sometime. Okay, so it needs that, needs that, needs that. I don't think any of this necessarily changes. Well, maybe the output stuff does. 'Cause I think file utils I only need for my make dir, which is part of the output step. Now this will put all of this code actually in this namespace. Right tile is going to be case specific. This data, unfortunately, we do need. Zoom levels, we expect to be a parameter to this thing. It should probably be a single log file. So we're going to have, probably separate this from initialization. So you're going to have a log file, you're going to have a tile width. Well, I guess you could set the log file. I don't know if there's a whole lot we can reuse there. And perhaps we then need to split by zoom and tile width. Although right now that leaves us, well, we may have to stop and write in the middle of the process, unless we have an object for that. Or does that mean that our splitter is a class method returning instances of these? But then we need to have tile width. And we can't use internal object references for these things if it's a self. Might need two objects. Oh, tile width is a function of zoom. We don't need zoom directly, though. What was I looking at? Oh, or cell size is a function of zoom, though. So actually, it's min size is probably the parameter I need. I must have been working on the JavaScript stuff. Which actually, we don't have this feature yet. Each log file. So that's going to be outer stuff. So initialize, initialize. The other thing, it needs the map. The print can go outside. So this kind of defaults to this. Oh, and you... So what's our output? Our output is... Gonna make all our references inconvenient, although I could maybe not in a class. Not sure how many levels of... Oh, I did a copy there. Okay, so they're there. So that says output the current state of things. We're going to build this up incrementally. So I may have to actually make... So you probably need to have the timestamps. Or do we build up everything locally and pass it off to that as a record of it? Because if it's an arc, then you see arc normally required a bunch of fields. Some of which I don't even know if we have. Server, we're server equals logfile.server. Oh, you're probably like the string. Could get the C, but don't need it for the logs. So that wouldn't even be an initialized thing, because you wouldn't have that until the end. I could have a block for the write processing. All right, so right now, that's what we need. That accomplishes that. Ooh. Okay, that was if there was something to write, which we can determine elsewhere. And you have to be there. That has to be in the collection. And we do have to do this. And this was our def. And we return our arcs. Tile placement log. All right, so maplog cache actually. Arc is only needed for that timestamp. This is a reader, but it's not. So right now that does need to be shared between here and the other thing. Date was needed for that, and JSON is needed for this. So I'm going to need that for floor removal and for sizes. So that's more appropriate to those scripts. What you need is actually the floor removals. But you're also going to need sizes here in a bit. These are implicitly cleared. Okay, so I need you, I don't think I need you. Actually, date. Well, it might kind of add some magic methods to things. You need that, you need that. We're going to need our right after a fashion. So you do that, you do zoom levels, you do servers. You filter servers, and then everything in here is where it can hopefully just go away. Placement log. We did the log file, we did the tile width. And I was in JavaScript mode again. Or maybe I tried doing these as constants. It didn't work out so well. Unexpected keyword end. You're a function call. Actually, all I need to do with you. What's the dir? Oh, it was actually the end time. Okay. Which we can mostly get from there, although keeping this clean could be kind of nice. Right tiles with we have argument order. Tile.seconds end. And I saw some naming I didn't like. All right, small one. I probably need to do a full reset on this. Too many windows. I need you in a little bit. Not surprising. Arc. Oh, I did pull too much. Maybe something like that. And find method S end equals. Yeah, I have to update that. Tile placement log. Add our accessor. Send. That's been reading it. You apparently didn't get to floor tech. So that might be the only thing we were a little nervous about there. Oh, pff. Immediately blows up. S start. For nil class. Start.sstart. Okay, so this is the first start. But that state's already initialized. But we didn't process one that was before the timestamp before. All right, one of these others had to have some floors, right? Okay, we put some floors down. So that shouldn't be any different. So now, I did not incorporate the changes from here. No, actually, I do kind of need that. Okay, so that's your right tile function. Objects we were able to skip before. Our right condition for the start, which is probably fine. Our reset, which comes from the object. The object right. Oh, this has the removals from there. Map equals, map equals. Except it's not. Okay, so that'll take care of all the reset situations. We need to... We need to record that. We need to clear. It'll only matter. For the logs. In our overages, we need to write. All right, that should make that usable. All right, so now we can reload. I don't think you need date. Take care of that. Output dir, the right's going to be different. Oh, I did some renaming here. Oh, because maybe I did it because it was the name of the key. Okay, and then everything goes away. And tile.placements. Okay, that is appropriate levels of difference. Uh-oh. Pluckments, indeed. Oh, I am putting out milliseconds instead of offsets, which means these are actually going to be a little bit larger, because of digits. Or am I putting out offset milliseconds? Yeah, I think that's offset milliseconds. Which, add a 0, remove a decimal point. I think most of these actually, you'd expect a little bit sooner start. Yeah. Now, maybe these files should have a start time too. Particularly if we have to do time breakups. Okay, so the abstraction probably hasn't helped our processing speed any. But I had to do something with it. Now, I guess that something could have still been one giant function that executed a block to write back out. But I want control of these outer parameters like zoom level and min size and all that stuff. Oof, processing this once is slow enough. And it's still going to be all the same as before. Oof, that's pretty much just write time. From the looks of it. Well, I thought I made the directory right up front. Alright, it seems to work. It allows us to abstract all of that iteration. Abstract, maplog, tiling. And then, now that we've got that abstracted, so what we needed out of this before, and this is still a little bit duplicated here. I'm not necessarily doing placements yet. Object size is also, we have zoom levels, we have that's probably I'm not sure if that's the right thing. Gonna always be there. Okay, and this is actually a little bit non-trivial here. What's ID? Oh, this is a different loop. Object master IDs. Object master bounds. Object master IDs each with index. We need a min width per zoom level. So I guess initial testing would just be something like that. And where did I define min size? Okay, I guess that works at top level. Okay, so for each this could probably be done here. And I guess for each zoom level, for each server, seems like it should have been here. All right, so this is in object processing. So now you need object bounds and a min size, which makes this interface get really awkward. So you need the log file, need tile width. Floor removal could be an option. All right, floor removal. Was options, floor removal or nothing. Min size. or 0. And that has to go with object size signed but unused. Okay, sure. We'll get there. So map. You need a quick test. So I did do this as the final argument, so you could do that. But being explicit about the options wouldn't be too bad. What? That's the one problem with opening that. It gives you the right directory without having to go through all the GUI other stuff, but... Okay. Seems to be fine. Speaking of which, small file. You have a min size and a object size. And then you are complaining about not printing out at the end of each log. All right, tile placement. So as before, this should have skipped everything below the object. Which, if it skipped this, it would also skip the overage placement. However, I might need previous log now. So this is also where we took care of floor removal stuff. It's excluded if it had a known size. It's the object layer, so we always have that. Oh, you relied on previous as well. Oh, you had a different previous. And this is the hairy logic that I was kind of avoiding before. If it's a small object, then we do still have to write a erasure. Oh, we did pull out object as a thing. Now, some of the floor removal objects could they cause trouble? Now, if we're nexting, we have to record this, because that was down there. So if it's a small object replacing a large object, we still have to record a removal. Oh. This needs to be conditional. So if it's a floor, we write it regardless, because those are pretty visible. If we get down here, we write it, but that could have skipped it. Oh. But if this thing... No, I don't want to change previous.object. Well, I need to change it for you. But the zeros do have some special meaning for the floor removals. That means I need to change the actual log entry. All right, map. I already got a map log test. Kind of want to reset that. Your map. Undefined method objects. Oh. Oh, I also have to do some conditional checks on these. Okay, so we made those empty, so they should at least exist and just not have bounds. The size should never be less than 0 if it's not defined. If I'm plus for nil. Excluded. Oh, so that's... Not printed. Nope. Only place you can put this. Okay, we did 2 zoom levels. That's the excluded placements. So 24 gives me... This is a very small history. But there must have been a lot of little placements somewhere, so now we kind of need to process... We're going to have to go down a few more levels. I think I decided 28 was almost too small before, but this is going to be a lot noisier. So you almost have to do some bigger files. To see how big things get at the end. Now that's already looking a little bit too big, and this is a teeny tiny history. Alright, so the only thing that we're concerned about, or the main thing we're concerned about, is the size of, well, I mean, I want the size across the board. I'm especially interested in, what does the biggest level look like? On the biggest file. Are those small enough to be reasonable? And I need more water. It's a lot of little files. This might also be a level where the amount of overlap starts to become problematic. Uh, 26, 28. So yeah, that like This is already a level where that two-tile overlap starts to become an expansion of data. Now I could probably be smarter about the overage placements, because those, now that I'm, the other thing was I had to have a data file with object sizes in it. I certainly hope I still have that. Cache objects.json. This is the compact file. Okay, those look like bounds. Yeah, so this is the other side that was frustrating me with doing zoom levels. It takes a lot longer to process all that. Okay, so that is the highest level. Okay, it must still be writing. Lots of little files. Now, it's possible I could tolerate somewhat larger files here, because I think I was up to a few hundred kilobytes for your basic object placements. It might be reasonable to tolerate something larger than that for the history, but not megabytes. Oof. Oh, wait, actually, yeah, if we start at 24, then actually 27 would be 4 levels up. That might give us less overlap too. Man, just the write times here is a lot. Do we have any? Gosh, we've still got 1 megabyte files. Now, one of the things I wanted to do is look at compression methods. The timestamp, for instance, I think is only a 32-bit value. So binary encoding would be better there. It might not be as good for the rest of the stuff. Particularly here, we're looking at very near to Origins things. That's going to be not as good. When you get out here, and we've got coordinates way the heck out here. There's not a whole lot out there. And it's still writing. So I suppose I could do some stats on this. But nothing's necessarily jumping out. There's like a dominant object. Wow. So what we know is that we did keep our previous one around. Okay, so the entire split log there is a bunch. But man, actually, well, replaying whole map history. If you zoom in on Arc Zone, it won't be quite so bad. So our baseline is 278 megabytes. I might need to do time breaking as well. That just makes it awkward because I have to record what those time steps are. And then you might need keyframes, so it starts to really make things more complicated. Now, I guess for data size, I could do record-to-record timestamp compression, and possibly even coordinate compression, given that they're tiled down. Or store it in tile relative coordinates. A little extra processing, but cut down the data size a little bit. Wow. I think I was thinking that this was maybe too much. Okay, so it didn't increase the overall size. Well, not massively, but the overhead from files is just as much. And the problem is, we can imagine that this will be 4 times as big if we go up a level. Except this would actually be 28. I'm just not doing it yet. Oh, right, because, well, I need to know both at some point, size-wise. What is that final thing look like if we cut it off there? $27 is still quite a lot. And it's still almost as slow. I mean, well, I don't know if I've run this without the extra code in it for all the size checks. So that alone might be slowing things down a lot. Okay, but now we excluded quite a few placements. I guess I don't have a count on how many are in. It might not be too hard to count that up as well. I guess really percent of data might be more interesting. Now, I guess one option would just be to do, I don't know, say hourly snapshots. That'll still be a lot of data, though. I don't know if that'll end up saving you anything. Because the final snapshot of this was like a couple hundred kilobytes per tile. But that would flush out any particularly high volume activity. You know, anybody bouncing stuff up and down, a lot of detail in baking or smithing. End up being a lot of logged actions. And then, of course, I deal with the front end of how you display these things. Because I might even still have that code in there. All right, well, that gets us down to sub 1 megabyte at least. And then farther out files are just going to be generally less active anyway, even though they've got larger coordinates. And then at some point I have to run this if I did the cutoff here. Wow, that's not much smaller than the whole thing. And that's with the zoom cutout. So individual files are better, total is not much better. Which maybe total savings is a metric? Well, this probably isn't excluding much. I have to do a lot of stuff to hook that back up for viewing it. All right, so I can believe that the final image expanded because we have to do more overdraw. So I think, well, I say 28 was too much. But we still have like a 1 megabyte file. So maybe we have to do something like break it every 24 hours and do a keyframe. That'd probably be especially helpful with the larger zooms. All right, so a bunch of this is just going to be change some values and let it run and see what the file sizes look like. That's not terribly interesting. So I might try and do some of that while I eat lunch. And I'll have to pick this up tomorrow. I probably do need to do, I've just kind of been doing the file sizes as they are what they are. Looking up some stuff for like sort of reasonable file sizes for the web might give me a better baseline for what's reasonable and not reasonable. So thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody who hosted me. What do we got? This is about when I tend to stream. Now, looks like I'm going to have to cut out Wednesdays. Actually earn some money. Looks like... I don't know how long he's going to be going. Fifth function is working on his JavaScript game engine. So if anyone wants someplace cool to hang out, that's someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye, and until next time.